Hello, and welcome to the Tower Coffee Hour. I'm your host, Preston, or Ty Tyree, and today we're bringing you the latest report from the Mueller Commission meeting. There were three things on the agenda this week. The first was a report by city staff about covenants that are being changed in Mueller governing documents. The Mueller covenants impact us all, but this discussion was just about the process for changing the different documents that do impact us. The second item on the agenda was a report from Banbury, the development company, about what's happening in the community, including follow-up on the splash pad repairs, the volleyball court repairs, and events that are happening like 3 more KUTX Rock the Park events. And the third item on the agenda was a discussion about the changes that are happening on 51st Street and how we as a community need to speak up to get the street redesigned to be safer and more efficient for all of us. It was a long and very intriguing meeting, and you have to see it to believe it.
Good evening. This meeting of the Robert Mueller Municipal Airport Plan Implementation Advisory Commission is called to order at 6:03 p.m. on Tuesday, August 11, 2026. We're meeting at Austin Energy headquarters, and present in person are Commissioners Jones, Kravaniak, Sokolik, Malcolm, Jackson, Clements, and we expect Commissioner Jackson to be joining us shortly. First item on the agenda is public communications. This is an opportunity for anyone to provide up to 3 minutes of testimony on any topic related to the Mueller development. Martin Jones. Come right ahead. Good to see you again.
Good to be seen.
Yes.
Hello, Martin Jones, and happy to be here. Commissioner Jones and all the others. Chair Jones, I'm sorry. Tried to catch you guys over the summer, but forgot you took a little break. So, wanted to come and say thank you and goodbye. I'm no longer head of Austin Studios. That ended back in May. Unfortunately, AFS had a reduction in force layoffs. I was one of the people impacted by that. And enjoying my summer hiatus and getting ready for my next big production, which is my oldest son's wedding in Portland, Oregon in 2 weeks. But I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for your hospitality, for your the work that you do as volunteers, the eagerness that you bring, and the great support that you bring to the community. And it's been a big service to AFS, I'm sure. But speaking for myself, it was well appreciated over my almost 7-year tenure. So just wanted to say thank you before I leave town and go to my son's wedding. I don't know if you have any questions or anything, but that's basically it. Keep up the great work. And it's hearing from Brian about some of the last few parcels of land, so that's really fun to keep up with. It's like every time I drive up and down Aldridge, something has changed, so it's pretty cool. Okay, have a great summer. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Big thanks to the staff. I mean,
Oh,
Jill and Marilee, great to work with, and everybody else behind the scenes. So I'll always know who to call if I have anything in this area to deal with. So hopefully it'll be some cool projects still coming. All right, guys. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for your contributions both to the studio and to the betterment of this community and project. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our June 9th meeting. Commissioners, are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the June 9th meeting minutes as written?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any other questions? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the June 9th meeting minutes, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? June meeting minutes are approved. Next item on our agenda is the staff briefing. This is a topic first suggested by Kathy, and it's an opportunity for the staff to kind of walk us through the process for finalizing the covenants for Miller. For some of the newer commissioners, years ago, earlier in the project, occasionally big changes that required PUD amendments did come to the commission before they were recommended to city council. But now that we're in the last stages of the project, those kind of changes aren't coming before us, and so this is an education opportunity for us to kind of understand some of the final steps that are going to be taking place here in the next 15 months, I guess. So we will turn it over to Jill and Mary Lee, and they'll kind of walk us through. This is sort of correcting and adjusting covenants 101, sort of a how-to.
Okay. For the record, Jill Fagan, Austin Financial Services. Thank you for teeing that up, Commissioner Jones. I will say I don't have a formal presentation. I just wanted to talk through the process at a big picture level, and then I'm happy to take questions. So just to take a step back also, every parcel at Mueller that's a commercial property or a residential property has covenants that are attached to it. And those covenants come through as part of the NDA, and all of the major covenants are exhibits to the NDA, and they also reference the supplemental covenants that each parcel has. So every property, Banbury, formerly the Catellis team and the city would work together to determine, the covenants by product type. There's multifamily covenants, there's mixed use, commercial covenants, there's retail covenants, and then every single housing product type based on lot size has their own covenant as well. In addition to that, there are the master covenants, there are the ECTC covenants, and then there's the mixed use covenants as well. Over time, there has been the need, right? I mean, these documents were drafted over 20 years ago, and over time there has been the need for there to be some changes or clarifications to the covenants. And the covenants allow for, during the development and sale period, for Catellis as the master declarant in the city to make changes to the covenants, not unilaterally, right? They have to be done together. So early on, there were some changes and cleanup and clarifications that were done. And then many of you know, over time, there have been some other covenant changes that have been made. For example, the row home insurance, which I know we're still looking at making additional changes to the row home insurance covenants, working with Banbury and the POA. But there have also been small changes over time to the covenants, where if you bought a home in Section 4 and you buy a home in Section 11, the covenants today, right now, are not exactly the same. And so it is our goal, we have a list of items that the city and Banbury team would like to be able to clean up before the project ends, before the term of the NDA ends. And there's also, I know from working with Banbury and working with the POA, there are items from the POA that have needed to be changed over time. In the 10th Amendment that was signed 2 falls ago, I believe, if I'm getting my timing correctly, there were some items that were cleaned up from our end, and there were items that came from the POA. I think at the time there was maybe a transition committee who was looking at this, or a governance committee. And so we certainly are open to making the changes that need to be made to the covenants for the betterment of the community, because while we are in this, NDA term, and while we have this covenant in place, there are changes that can be made through a process. I also know that there's a lot of questions about, what's happening in the covenants, or what changes might be coming. And when we did the 10th Amendment, I know that Banbury worked with the POA to post the documents in advance, to try to share communications. These are the changes, this is what's coming, so that people who are interested would have the opportunity to review the documents before they were finalized and ask questions. And we absolutely will do the same process again on the major covenant changes that we want to do to clean up. We know there are questions, we understand that, and we don't want to, put anyone in a position where they have questions they didn't have a chance to have them asked or answered. So I know We do have items that we need to be working on, and Brian reminds me quite frequently that we need to keep things moving along, and it is our commitment, the city's commitment, to work closely with Banbury and all the attorneys involved and with the POA to ensure that we update what needs to be updated to the best of our ability before the project is completed. I don't know if Michael or Commissioner Jones, if that was very brief overview, but if you had specific questions or if other commissioners had questions, I'm happy to address them.
This is good. Commissioners, questions for Jill about the process, the timing, anything? Yes, go ahead, Ken.
Thank you for that. It still feels like there's not an urgency, and I know this sounds, I don't mean to say that y'all aren't working on it, but specifically that omnibus bill with the interior insurance was requested very strongly by the members of the people who are in the row rooms to be removed. And the longer that we wait, the potential that we have another issue with what happened in 2025 happens again. And I just want to reiterate that storm put a lot of people in some really financial straits. They did not get reimbursed for over 14 months from the POA, and we just need to take care of some of this stuff. And if there's anything we can do as a commission, as members of the community, something to speed this up, we are here. Thank you for your work on it.
Commissioners, any other questions? Andrew?
This is just a clarification. But our charge is to advise the city council on the implementation of the RMMA master plan. I guess understood that's the covenant. I'm just reading directly what our charge is as a commission. It's on the master plan. It doesn't say covenants. It's just understood that the covenants are underneath the master plan. Although I think of the graphic and obviously the covenants affect that. Is it understood that the covenants are underneath or part and part of the master plan?
So the covenants are part of the plan, they're
Uh-huh.
part of the master development agreement.
Mhm.
So the charge, unfortunately, for this commission, that's the initial charge, before we had a master development agreement in place. And over time, it has evolved into the implementation of the master plan, which involves the master development agreement, the design book, and all the associated documents. So that's how I interpret it.
Okay, well, just, we have pretty plain English, just getting clarification.
Actually, can I make one comment?
Yes, Kathy.
And this was my suggestion to commission, because it has been such a slow process to get what we've asked for done, why we brought it to commission, just to kind of put it on record. I just kind of wanted to clarify that if that helps, Andrew, also just part of our charge.
Commissioners, other questions? Yes, Kat.
Hello. Help me with, I'm thinking about how consistency works with covenants, when there are different types of housing and businesses, but we're all one community. So, like, are the master covenants, does everybody follow those? And then say condos and row houses and stuff, then they have addition on top of that, but we all follow the master ones?
Yes. Okay, so that's a good question. So the master community covenant is over all of the properties, and then depending on which area you're in, you either fall under the next layer of covenants, it's either the ECTC covenant, which is the Employment Center Town Center covenant, or the mixed use covenant. And then beneath that, there are the supplemental covenants, and those are the type that apply to each product type. And the language in them is generally consistent across, right now, like the covenants are very consistent. But there are some changes over time that have occurred, particularly on the supplemental covenants. And so that is one item that I know that the city and Banbury team, like I said, are really interested in before we close out the project, just wanting that consistency, like I said. So somebody's purchasing a home in the early section versus the last section, the covenants will be uniform.
Okay, and that would be good that, you know, being that we're all one community, because just use myself for an example, but, I live on Camacho in the 4400 block, and we're a block of yard homes, but we share an alley with the Mueller condos. And so, like, with the community managers, Cohere is rolling out the compliance thing, which is really wonderful, and the compliance is seen up in that. But you can't use that compliance tool for the people adjacent to you. It's different, because you cannot go through Cohere, you have to go through their property manager. And in addition to that, the Mueller condo twos on the other side of Berkman have Associa, and now the condo ones have another. And so there needs to be, I understand there has to be differences, but I think there needs to be a public place where it's all listed and the contact info is listed. Because people don't know how to reach the appropriate person, or what's going on, or, you know, what do they have to adhere to. And so I think between them, the communication needs to be better, because like Cohere doesn't interact with the condos or the row houses or the others, and I get that. You know, they're doing a great job, and they have their hands full doing what they're doing. But I think on the website or something, there needs to be a community place that says, should you need, you know, condo, should you need row houses, you know, address this, address that. But there's nowhere to find that specific information in one place. And I don't know if that's your part of the covenants or. But
Well,
they
unfortunately,
still-
Commissioner Malcolm, I don't want to disappoint you, but for us, we're changing the actual covenants, and
Okay.
all of the condo associations, those are separate.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to work with Banbury to ask the POA. I mean, I think that it's a really, I hear you, and that's a good suggestion, where we can make it, hopefully, when I say we, I mean the colloquial we, that we can make it more clear who to contact for what. And we have gotten those questions too, just for reference from the city, like with the parkland, and you know, like who you call for which parkland related to maintenance. So I hear you. And sometimes we've done a good job about making everything seem like one community, that it can be at times challenging to figure out the right person to contact.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioners, other questions? I do have one or two, and it's more process questions. So MDA ends December of next year. Can you give us some idea of the scope of what's still left to be done? As I said earlier, it was like there are no big things, there are no impediment, because there's not much left to change there. But do you have, maybe not a specific timeline, but what do you think? What still has to be done? And do you have a rough idea of, we ideally like to finish everything. If the project's supposed to end in December of next year, does that mean we want to get all of this done, whatever's left, by November of next year or October? I don't know if you have
It's a
something.
very fair question. I would like to defer to provide an answer later on exact timing, because we don't know yet, right? There are some parcels that are still remaining to be taken down, and so that timing is TBD, quite frankly. But I personally am with you in that I want to plan for the things that are in our control and the things that we need to be done sooner, so that we're not waiting. If that is,
Yes.
you know, we're not waiting till November of
Yes.
2027 to get things done, absolutely.
And what is the process, from the city standpoint? Because I know that the other two parties may have their own way. What is your process for actually doing it? Do you do it sort of like the old style assembly line, like one person works on it, then the next entity or the next partner, and then somebody else? Or do you get into a room and say, we're going to hash this all out, or how does that work?
It's a collaborative effort. So in addition to the redevelopment team, we worked with a real estate team, as well as the city law office, who review all documents, they provide their input. And so it very much is a collaborative process, and it's cyclical too. So we review documents. Most of the covenant changes are drafted by Winstead, the attorneys who have drafted all the original covenants. And as we're reviewing things, we go through our own city review. There's some back and forth as well with the Banbury team and the Winstead team. And as then we've been involving covenants that, for certain things are also going through review with the new property owners association attorneys as well. And so it does seem a little circuitous at times, but at the same time, I think it's ending with a good product that, it's been well vetted and well reviewed.
I think that was valuable information. I think for people not involved with the city to understand that it's not one city department doing this, it's multiple people with their own demands, and so that helps explain a little bit better about the timeline a little bit. Commissioners, any other questions? Yes, Rick, and then we'll get to Ashley.
Just for clarification, don't live here, have never lived anywhere where there's a homeowners association. I am half owner of a townhouse with my sister where there is one. She lives next door to that, so she deals with all of that. But I know this is very complicated in Miller. Was there ever consideration of there being some central on-site office to deal with all of this, or is it just going to be various management companies that deal with all the different property types depending on what that particular group of covenant owners choose? Is that how it works?
Sorry, excuse me. So the Property Owners Association and and I don't want to speak with POA because I'm not a part of the POA, but the Property Owners Association manages every property out here. There are some product types for condos and Miller houses that have their own condo association. And so that is separate and apart from the Property Owners Association, but the POA covers every property that's out here. And so those individual condo associations, the city's also not involved in those because that is up to those property owners and their condo association.
So of the overall POA, is there someone on site that manages it? On Miller?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't realize, yes, there is
Oh,
staff on site who are
okay.
managing the property on behalf of the Property Owners Association.
Thank you.
Ashley?
I think my general comments are, just thinking of as a homeowner and future homeowners, going through this covenant change process, understanding we're still under the NDA and it's at the city level. There's not a lot of transparency for a homeowner or future homeowner who may be, thinking about a row home, and insuring it and not knowing that there's changes that could be happening to the interior insurance. So I understand that is kind of what it is, but I would impress upon maybe expediency in that, so that they can just be aware. And that's kind of the importance of, do I cover the interior? What do I do with my condo insurance? That's just something I'm thinking of as I sit here. Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Oh, Andrew.
Not so much a question, I found this in the POA's strategic plan. Form a transition subcommittee of the board to work with the developer and community subject matter experts, as well as legal counsel, to complete review of existing covenants and identify any recommended changes for consideration by the boards and the community at large. And the time frame is 2026, 2027. That's understood.
That's the POA then. Any other questions, commissioners? All righty. Well, Jill, thanks.
Someone signed up to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Joe Freeland, Vice President and Treasurer of the Mueller Master Association, and also the Chair of the group that Andrew was just referencing, the ad hoc committee on governance changes. And I just wanted to come tonight to let staff know, city staff know that we have a committee composed of ECTC and mixed use members, board members primarily, ready, able to help y'all in reviewing whatever changes you want to make. We do have our list. We haven't really completed that list because I've been a little hesitant on what happens to our list after we get it done. We really had 3 things on the list for this year, the most important of which was the row home insurance change, which Brian had worked out a schedule. There is a schedule somewhere, but Brian is tinkering with that schedule right now. But it's that the row home insurance change, as we sort of laid it out, that needed to be done by the end of September so that those owners would have the opportunity to become educated to know what changes they needed to make in their insurance. And I'm afraid if we don't get it done by then, it's probably best to wait and do it next year. But then exposes, as Kathy pointed out, we run that risk of if there's another storm event in the next year. And so I just want to make sure y'all know we're here, we're ready to work fast as y'all want to work. I've spent a lot of time reading those covenants. And our list, Jill, as you pointed out, was that we adopted rules maybe last year, maybe last month. Many of those rules are inconsistent with the existing supplemental covenants because there were changes in where you could put basketball goals. There were changes in other items. There was that change. I think the rules now would allow more pets than the covenants would allow. And so our list primarily was just sort of conforming the changes we've made in the rules already into the covenants. And then there are those bigger, broader things, which might take a little more time. I know there are ongoing discussions on NCC. What happens to the NCC after the MDA expires? As the covenants are written now, the NCC the modifications committee becomes the NCC. And I understand city staff's concern about that going forward. And those are things we just need to sit down and work out. I personally don't want the POA board dealing with NCC level decisions. But I just want to make sure we don't have any liability with regard to those NCC decisions. So whenever y'all are ready to work with us, we're here. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. That concludes this discussion. We appreciated the update, and Jill, thanks for kind of giving us a little more insight into how this process works going forward over the next year or so. The next item on our agenda is the Mueller Development Update.
Testing. Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Brian Dolezal. I'm responsible for marketing and communications for the Mueller Development on behalf of Banbury and the City of Austin. Settle in. I've got quite a few items for you, updates since a couple months ago. And I'm going to start with all this is, I think, generally good news, but I'm going to start with some really, really good news. As you know, Mueller's Greenways are now owned by the City of Austin and maintained by the Property Owners Association, which that essentially means that when there is a change that needs to be made or can be made to the Greenways, we do need to get permission from Austin Parks and Recreation before making that happen. And that includes anything related to naming of items. But we have recently secured approval thanks to support from Commissioner Kravaniak, from the Property Owner Association and from the Delwood 2 Neighborhood Association to name the Northwest Greenway after your former colleague, Ken Ronsonet. I'm very excited about that. Some of you may be aware of Ken's contributions over the years. He was a very strong neighborhood advocate in the very early days of the idea of moving the airport out from Robert Mueller to Bergstrom, and then what to do with this community. He was a longtime neighborhood leader of Delwood 2, very involved in the Greenway planning, especially related to the homes that back up. As you may recall, the Delwood 2 neighborhood is the only neighborhood that's contiguous to the former airport. So he's been very involved in the fencing for those homeowners along there, but also the trail access for that. So we're very excited to get that renaming done. We're still working on what the signage is going to look like. I'm hoping to have more information on that here relatively soon. And then we're going to do some kind of ceremony, hoping sometime this fall. Certainly want to make sure that all the commissioners are invited to that. So look for more information, and I'll share that with you as soon as we have that. But I wanted to start my remarks with that. I also wanted to give an update related to some changes or some repairs that are being made around Mueller. This is all, again, primarily POA related, but because some of the repairs will impact the use of these facilities, I wanted to share that with you this evening. We'll start with the waterscape at Branch Park. It is going to be repaired. It is a hefty cost, but the work is kind of being done behind the scenes. We don't know exact timing of when repairs begin, but we're thinking probably mid-September for that. The town center pavers, these are the brick pavers that are on the sidewalk in primarily the town center area, but also includes some brick pavers around Mueller Central. Over time, though, those bricks need to be repaired in a lot of cases due to utility work that was done in the area. And so those are also going to be repaired. We're thinking early September those repairs will begin, and we'll certainly be keeping the commercial businesses aware of that too. We'll also be notices going out in the newsletter on that. The volleyball court at Branch Park is also getting some work done. The liner for those two courts is going to be replaced, as well as bringing in additional volleyball-specific sand to fill in some of the gaps. That work is also scheduled to begin actually later this month, early part of next month. That one may take up to a month to actually work on. And since we know we have a lot of volleyball users outside of the community, there'll be notices also in next door. There'll be signage in the area where we do need to keep people off those volleyball courts in order to do the repairs to the liner. The basketball court at Elawooten is also getting resurfaced. We think that actually will begin as early as next week. Takes about 3 or 4 days to actually do the work that's needed, and then another week or so for it to cure. So there'll be some signage on there to please stay off the basketball courts. There is another basketball court over by the school that people can use in the interim. And then last but not least, the sunflowers sculptures along I-35. Unfortunately, they've been vandalized a few times now, but more recently because of copper wiring. We now have a solution to not use copper wiring for this next repair, but that's going to be starting here probably in the next few weeks. I'm not sure how long that's going to take, but the goal is to get those working again in the evening. So a lot of work coming up from the POA there. I also wanted to share with you that Foundation Communities, the Jordan 2, which is the expansion of the Jordan affordable housing across from Philomena Street. We recently learned, in fact, we learned today that they received their tax credits, so they're able to move that project forward. They're looking at a groundbreaking probably sometime in the first or second quarter of next year. I don't have an exact time frame for that. And then across the way from them, Creative Action, they're looking at a mid-September groundbreaking. And I'll make sure that you all as Mueller commissioners get invited to that event as well. Shifting gears, some of you may be aware that the POA has entered into a pilot program with the Austin Police Department to do some patrolling. And I just wanted to share a little bit of background for you on that. To provide a little bit of context, relatively speaking, Mueller has less crime than a lot of other neighborhoods in Austin, partly because of our density, a lot more people visiting, a lot more eyes on the community, et cetera, et cetera. But because we have the commercial component that's so significant at Mueller, there certainly is more opportunity for crime in the area, whether it's shoplifting or, unfortunately, crimes taking place with vehicles. We did have kind of pre-pandemic a relationship with the Austin Police Department where the POA was paying for some patrols there. We ran into some challenges, especially during the pandemic, of police officers not being available, when the POA wanted or needed them to be kind of patrolling the area. But we did a survey with the community and determined that the community still wanted some kind of patrol. So after a request for proposal process, we selected a private company to patrol the area for a while. But just earlier this year, an APD officer who lives in the neighborhood approached the POA to say, hey, we would love to, start up again with contracted services provided by the police department. And they put together a proposal that was really for a pilot program that would last 90 days that just began last week. And they really wanted to kind of patrol the commercial areas and specifically Aldrich Street area first, see how that works, and then to determine if it's successful from the POA's perspective as well as from APD, if it's something that were to expand beyond that. So the service area that they are patrolling is essentially starting kind of at the food trucks hangar Mueller Central area, and then going up along Aldrich Street. Does include patrolling Sink and Mosaic along Mueller Boulevard, but going up Aldrich Street all the way to Aldrich 51 and 51st Street. They're going to be patrolling primarily by foot, but they also have a bicycle that they have purchased to patrol that way, and then they'll also have access to the POA's recent purchase of ATV vehicles that are used currently primarily for porters to service the parks, but when those aren't being used by the porters, the APD has the ability to kind of use that as well. Their focus is community policing and education first. They're really going to be there to educate of people if they see kind of misdemeanor crimes being committed, giving warnings second, certainly before they do any kind of citations or arrests. And their focus is on focusing on the laws of the city, of the state, federal laws, as opposed to POA rules. So, for example, if someone is breaking a city ordinance such as having an off-leash dog, they're not going to immediately fine that person or arrest that person for having an off-leash dog, but they are going to take the time to approach them and educate them. This is a city ordinance. This is why it's in place, etc. And if they see that person continuing to make that infraction over time, they may then issue warnings. They may then issue a citation. Like I said, this is going to go on for 90 days. During that period, both the POA and police department will be evaluating this. They have recruited, I think, 8 to 10 officers to patrol the area. They will be there 7 days a week for multiple hours a day. We're not going to publish the times of day we don't really want would-be criminals to know when they're going to be present, but they'll be present during peak hours. And we'll see how it goes and determine if there's budget to expand into other areas and to continue the program beyond those 90 days. I also was reminded by APD, as I've been sharing this with the community, to remind folks that certainly if there are concerns about this program, certainly contact the POA. We can have conversations with APD and with the POA. But also from reporting any kind of crimes, if there is a crime or misdemeanor that has already happened and everyone is safe, contact 311. But obviously, if there is a crime in action, and there's certainly people who are in the threat of not being safe, please call 911. Don't just rely on the patrols to be in the area to capture everything. Shifting gears, I'm going to talk about some new businesses that are coming or have already opened in the community since last we met. Some of you are probably aware that Hop Dottie has now officially opened, Hop Dottie Burger Bar. They opened on August 5th. But they are having a grand opening ceremony event on Sunday the 23rd at 9 a.m. to noon, and they will be supporting the Ag Producer Support Fund, which is connected to the Texas Farmers Market. Drop Dog is opening next door. That is also coming to Aldrich Street this fall. It's a membership-based dog daycare business. No reservations are required. You can drop off dogs for as little as 30 minutes or between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. It's not an overnight kennel. It's just for temporary purposes. They will have trained staff who will have a responsibility for 15 to 20 dogs at a time. So again, they're going coming in this fall at the Amway Branch Park. The Austin Institute for Dental Medicine has opened in the medical office building near Seton headquarters, or Ascension Seton headquarters. They offer preventative, urgent, restorative, cosmetic, pediatric dentistry. And they also have a dental residency program, so they're also training dentists as part of that program. You may have seen the sign that's now been installed on the top of we refer to it as the Gemdale building. They were the developers. They're on the corner of Philomena and, just east of Philomena and Miller Street. We just learned about this the other day. There's a new business coming to Parkside called Athletic Outcomes. It is a gym that is scheduled to open in early October. They will have large and small group classes, personalized coaching sessions, physical therapy, and nutrition programs. They're currently offering a discounted gym membership until they're opening, as I said, probably in early October. And then it's posted on the website, but we have not heard from them directly, but I think it's safe to share. The Royal Blue Grocery is planned to come to the new Amley Park Central that's under construction there. They will be along Aldrich Street. I don't have a timing of when they're planning on opening, but I suspect it'll be sometime either mid to late 2027 in conjunction with the new Amley building. And then lastly, related to, since we're talking about retail businesses, you may have seen this in the press, but in case not, Miller Alamo Draft House has a new name. It's now officially the Matthew McConaughey Cinema. So just wanted you to be aware of that. And then lastly, I just wanted to update you all on just some upcoming events. The Lone Star Le Mans Fan Zone is taking place this Saturday, August 15th from 10 to 6 p.m. in the Pavilion. It's a free celebration of the FIA World Endurance Championship prior to the Circuit of America's Le Mans event that's taking place a couple weeks later. The International Dog Day celebration is taking place the following Saturday on the 22nd from 10 to 2, also in the Pavilion. This is a free event as well, adoptable dogs, dog treats, photo booth, local artists, coffee, refreshments, and more. And then I have dates now for the fall KUTX series. That will be Friday, September 25th, Friday, October 23rd, and Friday, November 6th. And I'm happy to share those dates again, or I can email them if you need them for your communication to other newsletters, etc.
Email will be good.
Sure. And with that, I'll take any questions. I know that was a lot.
Yeah. Commissioners, questions? Kathy?
This is very exciting news about Splash Pad. Who's paying for that?
That will be a project expense because the Branch Park and the pavers as well are currently owned by the project. But before we turn them over to the POA, which will happen relatively soon, we wanted to have them in good stead, so the projects are paying for those.
Thank you for that confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That is very good news. Commissioners, other questions? Ashley.
Quick question, is SRT still patrolling around while APD is running their patrols?
That's a very good question. Yes, they are. They are not going to be patrolling Aldrich Street. We don't want to have the overlap. And frankly, this is not originally a budgeted item for the POA. So we're taking some of the money that SRT would have spent patrolling Aldrich Street for APD. But they will be patrolling all other areas, all of the commercial areas, and then probably even more so the residential areas of Miller.
Yes, Rick.
Do I understand it correctly that this is Royal Blue's first venture outside of downtown?
I don't believe so. I think they have a location maybe over in East Austin somewhere, but I'm not sure exactly where it is.
Okay. And then the doggy daycare, they're using part of the park?
No, they will have, it'll be an indoor air-conditioned space. I think they have like 3 different stations depending on the temperament of the dog. There's apparently a test that all dogs will have to go through before the membership is complete to kind of determine what their temperament is and if they're the right temperament to be able to socialize with other dogs, etc. But I think that they'll have them separated in kind of 3 different areas.
Thank you.
Commissioners, other questions? I was gonna say, have anything comparable for humans?
Not yet.
All right. If there are no other questions, has anyone signed up to provide any testimony on the development update? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right. Oh. And the last item on the agenda is one proposed by Andrew. It's a discussion of the East 51st Street Mobility Project. Andrew?
Thank you very much. This is spun off of the June 13th presentation of the 90% East 51st design that was done in this room. On that day, I had previously been asking for staff to come back after their initial January presentation, and I think this was the implied response has come to this public open house. I did go, members of the, other members of the Transportation and Urban Planning Committee of the Neighborhood Association went, some Safe Streets organizational members went, Hayden, and the head of the Safe Streets, neighborhood representatives from Windsor Park, and Mueller were there also. We convened afterwards because we wanted to respond to it, and what you see is a letter I wrote. It's probably running parallel to one that's being produced by Safe Streets organization. Huh?
It's a Safe Streets version.
Okay. Oh, okay. So is this what I sent, or something you got from Adam?
I sent it.
Huh?
I sent it in.
Oh, okay. You did. Okay. I was wondering how it appeared. Because I had hoped for actually a motion, an action item, but I think it's appropriate to do a discussion first on this to perhaps get everybody up to speed. But Safe Streets is Mueller Neighborhood Association is gonna sign on to this. They're in contact with Windsor Park to sign on. Some of the other like the school and some other people within Mueller, the middle school. But if I need to present it, it's that, I don't know if y'all, the 90% is an engineering drawing. There it is. And it's not, the 2012 vision plan, I think was much easier for lay people to understand because it was more of an urban design drawing. This is really, if you zoom in, I think you need to be attracted. Look at this color. Now, that don't see on the one it is. Okay, but it's as somebody who took traffic in engineering in college, find it a little daunting to understand what it's proposing. But the gist of it is, my main questions are going to continue to be to staff, and I'm going to propose an agenda item for staff to return to answer some of the issues that were constantly been raised, comparing it, first of all, to the 2012 vision plan, which is what sold the 2012 bond, and what's changed. And we've been told drainage and the loss of a design engineer have caused some changes that have been the letter from Safe Streets, and we are the main gist we're going to call for is what's called the road diet, is to reduce the active number of transportation lanes. And the thing that I'm going to want answered, probably most clearest, is on East 51st, west of I-35, a road diet was imposed and the traffic lanes reduced. East of Berkman, on East 51st, a road diet was imposed and traffic lanes were reduced. Springdale Road, pretty major road, had a traffic diet, and its lanes have been reduced from 4 to 2. Most of Springdale Road. Manor was reduced. Traffic lanes were reduced when Manor was redone. So my question is going to be why this portion of the perimeter of Mueller is not right for a road diet. Reducing the traffic lanes, and the other question I'm going to be is how are we going to achieve the city's mode split at 50-50 between traffic. Automobiles, if we don't stop de-emphasizing the automobile, and that's what I think the current 90% design does. I think the response from the traffic engineers and the staff is going to be the traffic counts don't allow that. And I looked at the traffic counts that were published in 2012, and I went and looked at, I tried to find out, in fact, I contacted the public information officer, Rick, and the two people that are listed for transportation. And they responded that what I found, TxDOT's study for 2025 is probably the most, is as accurate as the city has too. And the figure for 2025 is about what they projected for 2023. I mean, 2003 in the 2012 plan. So we're not getting anywhere near what was projected. So I think we have the right to question the projections. Because the response is now going to be, at least at the public open house, around about at Berkman, in East 51st, they said was taken off because of the traffic counts. But if the traffic counts are wrong, then it needs to be back on the table. And I would ask how the traffic counts that are presented in the 2012 vision plan for East 51st, right at Cameron, how we achieved a traffic circle on the other side with those kind of traffic counts. So there's kind of logical things that I'm going to get answered as a commissioner, and I'm sorry, I'm going to probably try and drag the commission along, because I think it's appropriate for us to ask those questions after it's been presented to us. So just, I mean, and you could, if you have any questions on the letter, I think I know enough about it, but it kind of details what the philosophy is. And we also think that we know the city's emphasis on street design has changed since 2012. And that's, I think, referenced in the letter, that we're more worried about safety and mode split and instituting things like road diets.
Before we proceed on with the discussion, a couple of clarifications. After confirming with Kathy on this agenda item, I want everybody to be clear, the agenda is correct. This is a discussion item only for the purposes of this meeting. And the other thing, I don't know that it matters in terms of the rest of the discussion, but staff have been working to get Capital Delivery Services to make a presentation at our September meeting. So, and maybe some other transportation-related issues from others, but that hadn't been finalized. Just thought you'd want to know. Okay, go ahead. Discussion. Kathy.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this up. And I wanted to, just for transparency's sake, I am on the board of Safe Streets Austin, and I do advocate for street safety due to what happened with my family. And I do support being part of this coalition. I don't agree with submitting our own letter, but I really do agree with being part of the coalition. I'd like to see that moving forward if possible. And everything that Andrew stated, I agree with for the most part with regard to street design. And the letter is a draft. Please note that this will be edited over time based on input from other neighborhoods. And Adam Greenfield, the executive director of Safe Streets, can be here next month to provide some commentary. So thank you.
Okay. Don't worry, we still have a quorum, so we can. Thank goodness for Ashley, your appointment. Commissioners, other thoughts on this topic? Yes, Kat.
Good time to discuss it. Do we know, and we may not, what's going in from that Cameron Road to Lancaster where they cleared all that out? Not road, but because I'm picturing that probably a lot of retail, some housing, who knows, could be a fast food. Okay, I'm sorry. Could be fast food, I mean, so I'm just curious, what's gonna go in with that? And then also with the church, who has 32 acres and just sold 19, and that's also gonna be developed. And I'd like to know a little bit more, if we can, about what's going in those places before we decide on a road diet. Because if it is a shopping center or what do they say, Whole Foods or whatever, on those corners and stuff, we're gonna need more, a light for traffic getting in and out of there. We're gonna need left turn lanes. I mean, I see it being more congested.
Commissioners, other thoughts? Yes, Rick.
So the Lancaster, 52nd, Cameron, and 51st Street block is up, other than, I think last time I looked, there were still 2 properties on 52nd Street that had not sold. So they're working around them. But there's plans for an apartment complex at the Lancaster end, and then a grocery store at Cameron Road in Weston. Various names have been bandied about, but I think it's one of those cases where they haven't really officially announced which chain it might be. But it will be, I'm pretty sure, pretty popular. And I have had concerns all the way along. I kind of wish they would almost reverse that, because Cameron Road is such a mess right there. And the access on Lancaster might actually be better, though it's a pretty small street too, so I don't know how all that's gonna work, but yeah. It's a good question, and I don't remember how many apartments are planned for it. There is a small amount of retail that will go along with that, so that is in the works for that block. Do you know more?
I don't know that.
I want to make a couple of comments on what Andrew said. So the road diets are weird. West of 35, I think the block or the stretch of 51st from 35 to Airport Boulevard was 4 lanes. And I think it still, at least is partly, I don't think it's all been reduced. It's a weird deal. West of Airport Boulevard until you get over to where the intramural fields are, and then there's the state complex. It's, as far as I can remember, it has always just been 2 lanes of traffic. It's so many people, I mean, I grew up in Berkman, and so many people go, oh, it was 4 lanes. I'm like, never was. And then 51st east of Berkman, when I can remember when it was a 2-lane road, period, and people lived on the south side. There was actually a subdivision over basically where the studios are. And so I don't have a real good memory of when all of that sort of changed and it got widened out there. And then when it was extended out to 183 on the other side, or east of Springdale, it's got a big median, and it was 2 lanes of traffic in each direction. That has since been modified to have bicycle lanes. How I think that works is because northbound traffic on 183 can no longer make a left turn onto 51st Street, so that has reduced the amount of traffic on that road significantly. So it's a weird deal out there. It's also primarily residential. The Austin ISD, what's it called? Anyway, it's a maintenance facility, or anyway, that is out there. I actually worked on that one. That was a Gerard Kenny project. But there's still a lot of vacant land. It's not highly populated yet. And then everything in between is, I mean, it's all pretty residential. The Con Springs neighborhood, there's not the kind of density of businesses that there are on 51st Street between Berkman and Cameron. Which is why when the AISD Performing Arts Center was proposed is when I went to the council on it and I asked for help. This was not done through any commission work. But I said, you're putting a lot of really dense uses on this stretch of 51st Street and we're gonna need help, I think. We've got this ideal new development happening on the south side of 51st. Windsor Park is doing our neighborhood plan and we're trying to kind of match that as best we can, but to get a little bit of help with making it mesh a little better. So that's where this all kind of came from. And granted, that was 14 years ago now. But I'm a little skeptical that the single lane will work. We did ask for roundabouts. Berkman, there was a flat out no, that they don't have the land. That was pretty well developed, even in 2012. HEB had not yet opened, but they were nearing that. But they don't have the land. They can't. It's very difficult to take parkland, which is one of the big corners there, and the rest of it's, well, we could take a big corner of Mueller and make it oval maybe instead of a roundabout, but that's a pretty tough call. The other ones, I'm not opposed to the idea. Again, we asked for them and it was not deemed feasible. So if that can work out, that'd be great. But we asked for this a long time ago and it didn't develop. So, and as far as, you've got a 4-lane road in Mueller right here. You've got one on Barbara Jordan. So it's not like it can't, a 4-lane road is not completely out of the question. There's just so much activity because there's so much commercial development along there. And there will be more coming on the Windsor Park side. So I don't know, I have a lot of questions about how this is all going to work. That's my comments, thank you.
Yes, Ashley.
Thank you so much. So when I think about this project, I love that this letter is coming from a place of coalition. I think that's amazing. When I think about this 51st Street, I feel like I can't consider it in just the vacuum. I need to also consider the changes that I-35 off-ramps will impose on Windsor Park and think about Broadmoor specifically. And if we create, because in my heart, I want 51st to be so pedestrian friendly. In my heart, I want that. But knowing Texans, if we place a lot of obstacle along 51st and slow it down, which I would love for us to do, they'll reroute and possibly cut through Windsor Park and Broadmoor, if that's where we're coming off the access road. So that's a concern that I have. So I just want to make sure we work with our coalition partners to look at the slightly larger picture outside of just 51st Street and how could this impact other people.
Explain what's happening with Broadmoor.
So I am not an expert on that at all, but I do understand that there will be an off-ramp from I-35 that would route people that way a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Rick.
So there have been plans a long time in the city. I think if Capitol Plaza ever gets redeveloped, that there's our plans to split it basically with a road from the frontage road to Cameron Road. So basically that's what's going to happen at Broadmoor. The gooseneck, as we called it, but it's 53rd Street that comes to the signal there. That's a really not a great solution to a problem. There's so many problems at the south end of Cameron. I again argued for the Cameron Road because it did not go to 51st Street. Southbound Cameron Road did not go to 51st Street where it does now. If you were going east, you had to take 52nd and Lancaster to go east. And if you were going west, there was a ramp that took you onto the bridge over I-35. And then you could, and before that, there was even a ramp that took you around and directly onto 35. But yes, this is a plan that I think the only thing left to demolish is the auto parts store. They're relocating, I think they're gonna relocate on 51st Street next to the Speedy stop or whatever that is. Because all of that's coming out so that there can be that connection from the frontage road to Cameron, and it's gonna happen at Broadmoor. And then Broadmoor, there's a lot of people in Broadmoor very concerned about that. Because it is a pretty minor residential street within the neighborhood. It does branch off in Westmore. We pick up some of that. I grew up in the corner of Westmore and Kirkland, but anyway, there are a lot of concerns about that, yes.
Commissioners, other thoughts? Has anyone signed up to provide any testimony on this topic?
Katie Cam signed up. She had to leave early. She left me with some handouts to share.
Okay.
Can I say one more thing while we're?
Yes, Rick, you were about to add.
I read your information. Windsor Park has not yet signed on to this because they haven't seen anything to sign on to. They met last Saturday, the 8th, I think it was, and they won't meet again until, the second Saturday in September. So, but yeah, they have not yet discussed this.
And that was she was the only person that signed up for any testimony. Okay. So anything else, anybody else before we conclude this topic? All right, it's been an interesting discussion. Future agenda items, as always, email them to us at least a couple of weeks before the next meeting. As I mentioned, tentatively, we've got capital delivery services for September, and maybe we're trying to also get, but I don't know if it'll be next month or not, Cap Metro, and at some point, maybe TxDOT. I'm not sure that'll be September, October, so it'd be great if we could get them all at the same time, have an all-transportation meeting, but those are tentative topics for the next couple of months. So, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Sure.
Rick, is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. I hear no objections. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Look forward to seeing everybody in September. It'll cool down to only 99 in the shade.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tower Coffee Hour. Please subscribe, click like, tell your friends about our channel. Remember, it's all about Mueller.